Hi everyone, Miss Leah here. I've really been missing my Sunday school class, so I wanted to do a shout out to Ben and Telsha, Colton, Cecilia, Peyton, and Grayson, and I have Parker here with me. Miss Ches is with her family this week, and so I'm excited to be right here with you to talk about Esther. We all miss you guys so much, so I'm glad that I was able to do this. Uh, we just got done celebrating Easter. And now it's time to get back into our chronological study of the Bible. Let's recap some of the stories that we learned about recently where God showed his great big love and delivered his people by rescuing them. So a few weeks ago, we talked about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and learned how God rescued them from the fiery furnace by sending an angel to protect them. Because of this, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and the king all praised God, and they were saved. Then we talked about Daniel in the lion's den and how faithful Daniel was to pray to God and how God rescued Daniel from the lions by shutting their mouths. The king ordered a decree that his kingdom must show reverence or respect to the one true God. And last week, we were able to celebrate Jesus raising from the dead. Look at that. This shows God's big, big love for us and once and for all how he rescued us from sin, death, and the devil. Every one of these times, God raised up someone who could save his people, his precious children, the ones like you and like me, and parents and brothers and sisters and cousins. And today we're going to learn about another brave person that God used to save his people. So here's a question for you. Who is the bravest person you know, and why do you think they're so brave? Feel free to pause the video here to answer the question and talk about it with the people that you're with. Okay, hopefully you were able to chat with whoever you're with today about that. So I have the dictionary definition of what brave means. The dictionary defines brave as someone ready to face any danger or pain, someone who shows courage in the face of something scary. So, well, I guess the question is, do you think you're brave? Are you maybe one of the bravest people that you know? Well, I have some questions for you. Do you know how to ride your bike? He looks like he's doing a stunt. He looks pretty brave. It took bravery to learn something that you never knew how to do. Were you, when you were younger, or maybe even now, were you ever afraid of the bathtub or of lightning and thunder or maybe spiders? Did you overcome your fear? That's being brave. How about when you went to your very first day of school? I bet it was pretty scary. I remember my first day of school and being a little nervous, but you did it. That's courage. Or when you told somebody who didn't know about Jesus and you told them the good news. Maybe you were scared of what they'd think of you or what they'd say, but you knew that God was on your side, so you told them about God's love. That's bravery. Not everyone fights bad guys like Goliath or defeats armies like Gideon or sin like Jesus did. God makes us all brave in our own ways. So let's read about a very brave woman in today's Bible story. It comes from the book of Esther in the Old Testament. This is the Bible that I'm using, the Jesus Calling Storybook Bible. So if you have that one, you can open it up to page 132. If you don't have it, I have the pictures on the screen right here that I can read to you. Beautiful Queen Esther. A new country had come to power, and the Israelites had to live under the rule of King Xerxes of Persia. King Xerxes wanted a wife, and from among the most beautiful girls in Persia, he chose Esther. Esther was a poor girl, but she was as smart as she was pretty. She was everything the king wanted, but Esther also had a secret. She was an Israelite. She believed in God. And her cousin Mordecai was an Israelite leader. If the king found out, he might not want to marry her. "Marry the king," Mordecai said, "but keep it a secret that you're an Israelite. The Persians don't like us." On her wedding day, Esther felt like the most beautiful princess. The king placed a crown on her head, and in her honor, he held a banquet. Their special day was a holiday for the whole kingdom. But one man did not want them to live happily ever after. There was a bad man named Haman who worked for King Xerxes. He hated the Israelites and made a plan to have all of them killed. Esther's cousin Mordecai went very carefully to the palace and slipped a secret message to Esther. Mordecai's note said, "Haman wants to kill the Israelites. Help us." Mordecai told Esther, "Maybe God has made you queen at this time so you can protect God's people." With her life in great danger, Esther went to the king with a special request. She decided that if she had to die, she would die serving God. For 2 nights, Esther made special dinners for Haman and King Xerxes. After the meals, her husband said, "Esther, I'll give you anything you want, up to half of my kingdom." Ah, Esther thought, it's time to tell my secret. "Save me and my people," she said. "Your worker Haman is trying to kill us." "What?" the king shouted. He didn't care that Esther was an Israelite. When he learned that she might have been killed, he had Haman punished. King Xerxes was kind to the Israelites, and to this day, Esther is remembered for protecting the lives of her people so that Jesus could be born through his family. All right, so here's a question. What does this story have to do with Jesus? We know that everything in the Bible is there to point us to Jesus, God, and God's plan to save us. And I hope that each of you know that Jesus never wants you to weather the storm alone. So how is Esther's story like Jesus' story? I want you guys to pause the video and I want you to think of the life of Jesus that we just got done celebrating. And I want you to think about the story of Esther and ask questions with whomever you're with, especially you older kids, and try and find the things that are the same about their 2 stories. So go ahead, pause the video. Okay, I hope you're able to find some similarities between the 2. Here are some examples that I came up with. Esther risked her life to approach the king and call out Haman for his actions. Because she did this, she saved all the Jewish people. Jesus also risked and gave up his life for you and I, didn't he? Because he did that, we can have everlasting life with him in heaven and abundant life filled with joy here on earth. If you read the whole book of Esther, you'll find out that Esther was an orphan. Mordecai, who was her uncle, took her in, and she came from very humble beginnings. Jesus did too. He was born in a barn. He was the son of a carpenter. That was a job that didn't earn a lot of money, but both of them were raised up by God. Esther as queen and Jesus as our king. Both Esther and Jesus were chosen by God to carry out God's very special rescue plan. And they both prayed. Jesus was always in prayer with his Father, and Esther prayed continuously for what God should have her do. So I have an activity for you guys that has to do with prayer. We're going to create a prayer jar. So you'll need some materials. You can get a jar if you know where one's handy, otherwise you can get a jar later. But for right now, grab some paper and a pencil or a marker or a crayon, whatever you'd like to use to write. And so run and do that. Run in and at least grab a piece of paper and a marker or pencil or something to write with. You can pause the video. Are you back? Okay, I want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to rip it into small pieces, but pieces that are big enough for you to still be able to write a little message on. And if I'm going too fast, always feel free to pause the video so you can catch up. Okay, now that you have your pieces of paper, ripped into little sections, but sections big enough to write on. On each section of paper, I want you to write out some things or people that you want to pray for. If you don't know how to write yet, that's okay. Just ask an older sibling or a family member that you're with to help you write these things down. And I have some examples of different things that you could write for your prayer jar. And I have a whole list of them here. I'm going to kind of just go through some things. Some things that maybe you want to pray for. Maybe you want to pray for your pastor at our church, or other people in your church family, or maybe your Sunday school friends. You could also pray for a brother or a sister or a cousin or an aunt or uncle or grandparent or friend. Do you know someone who's having a hard time? Maybe somebody who's hurt or sick, or just somebody you really miss. You can pray for them. Write their name down. What things do you need to say maybe that you're sorry for? Have you been kind to your brothers and sisters? Or listened to your parents? Or done all of your schoolwork that your teacher assigned and asked you to do? And finally, another way that's great to pray that we can add to our prayer jars is things that we're thankful for. What are you thankful for today? Write those things down so that you remember to pray and thank God for them. Maybe it's food or toys or friends and family. Maybe it's your house or your room. I want you guys to pause the video. You can keep this up as an example of different things that maybe you'd like to pray about, and talk about the things that are most important for you and your family that you can pray for today. Okay, so once you have all of your prayers written down, I want to encourage you guys to grab a couple slips of paper from your jar every single day to pray for those people or those things that matter the most to you, so that you can have a conversation with God about them. And remember to do it every day, because the more that we talk to God like a good friend, the more that we can experience his friendship really closely. And I want you guys to know that each one of us, we might not be kings and we might not be queens, but God has a plan for you. And you can talk with him right now through prayer. So I'd like us to pray. I want us to pray together. So we'll fold our hands and we'll close our eyes and we'll bow our heads. And we'll say, "Dear Jesus, thank you for making us brave and for always being with us and guiding us. We know we can't meet together right now, and we miss that. But until we meet again, please protect us and our families. Watch over us and guide us. And God, help us to be brave. Help us to be courageous. And Lord, help us to remember to pray. And when we do pray, to pray bold prayers. In Jesus' name, amen." I had so much fun going over the book of Esther with you guys and doing this activity. I miss you so much, and I can't wait until we get to meet again. So until then, stay safe. Know that you are loved with an everlasting love by God the Father and Jesus Christ. And I do have a short song that I wanted to play for you guys about Queen Esther. So I'm going to do that now, and I hope you all have a wonderful week.
Esther was a girl from far away. She lived a simple life and loved the Lord. A king was looking for his bride to be. He fell in love and called this girl his queen. Her people were the chosen ones of God, distant land as slaves. The king had put God's people in harm's way, but God had chosen Esther to be brave. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper, plans to give you hope and future. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper, plans to give you hope and future. You might be scared, but hold on to the truth. Our God provides and He will not leave you. And when you feel alone, remember you are His. For you were called for such a time as this. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper, plans to give you hope and future. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper, plans to give you hope and future. Oh.